Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. To enlighten us today, we are blessed to have with us Brahmachari Atma Prakashamrita Chaitanya. Atma Prakashamrita ji is a monastic disciple of our beloved Amma, Mata Amritandamayi Devi. He is basically from Chennai. In the year 1992, while he was pursuing mechanical engineering in Bangalore, he had the opportunity to meet Amma, and soon after graduating, he joined the ashram in 1995. Atma Prakashamtaji is involved in many activities of the ashram. He coordinates a few programs for Amrita TV, including Amayodapam, Amritavasham, Amritangamaya, and Amritaganga. He also takes regular scripture classes for the international devotees of the ashram and conducts spiritual retreats. Brahmachari Atma Prakashamtaji, we are delighted to have you with us today. On behalf of everyone watching us today, I extend a warm welcome to you. Thank you for gracing us today with your presence. Om Nam Shivaya.
Om Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Dhyayamo Dabalavaguntanavatim Tejomayim Naishtikim Snigdhapanga Vilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmida Shrimukim Valsalyamritavarshinim Sumaduram Sankirtanalapinim Shamangim Madhusikta Suktim Amritanandhatmikam Ishwarim. Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. I humbly bow down at Amma's lotus feet. Greetings to all of Amma's children who are joining us online. First of all, let me express my deep sense of thanks and gratitude to our beloved Swamiji, Swami Amritagitananda Puri, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with all of you. Swamiji was our Acharya for many years. It was from Swamiji that we learned basics of Sanatana Dharma and non-dual philosophy. My gratitude to Swamiji for giving me this wonderful opportunity. The topic of discussion today is Varnashrama Dharma. It's a highly misunderstood topic, highly controversial topic. The word Varnashrama Dharma, it has got three terms in it. Varna, Ashrama and Dharma. Varna refers to four classes of society. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These four classes exist outside and inside. So Varna refers to four classes of society. Ashrama refers to four phases in human life. Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, Vanaprastha Ashrama and Sannyasa Ashrama. So as I begin this topic, I remember a question that was put to Amma on one of the Tuesdays. I think it happened many years ago. Amma conducted her meditation at the Kali temple. After meditation, someone asked Amma, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he created the four castes. If Lord Krishna created four castes, isn't Krishna responsible for all the problems that Bharat faced over the past so many years because of caste divisions? The caste system, it was because of caste system. People fought among themselves. There was lack of unity. It was because of lack of unity, both Westerners and Muslim invaders, they invaded India, they looted India, they plundered India. So isn't Lord Krishna responsible for all of this? That was a question put by an ashramite to Amma on a Tuesday. Obviously, the question was referring to the popular verse in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which comes in chapter 4, verse number 13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam chaturvarnyam maya srishtam. The four varnas were created by me. Gunakarma vibhagashaha. The four divisions, the four sections of society were based on guna, qualities, and karma, action. So based on guna and karma, I created 4 sections in society. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashah. Kartya tasya kartaram apimam vidhi. Akartaram avyayam. Though I created these 4 sections, understand that I am a non-doer. And understand that I am blemishless, says Lord Krishna. So Amma said very clearly, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I created 4 varnas. Lord never said, I created castes. Children, varna is different from caste. Varna refers to 4 sections. These 4 sections exist, it's universal. Wherever you go, whichever country you go, whichever place you go, these 4 sections exist. So suppose you go to a company, you consider a company. As all of us know, a company has got a CEO, a coordinator, a supervisor, a worker, etc. Don't we come across these classifications in a company? How about a hospital? In a hospital, you have a doctor, you have a nurse, you have a compounder, and you have a domestic help in a hospital, isn't it? Don't we come across these classifications in a hospital? In a hospital, will you expect a nurse to demonstrate the same amount of talent and skill of a doctor? You won't, isn't it? Likewise, you won't expect a compounder to behave like a nurse. So these classifications are universal, right? Based on professional skill and mentality, it differs from person to person. Each person has got a role to play in a society. Then I must add further, just because you're father of an engineer or a doctor, that doesn't mean you'll become an engineer or a doctor, isn't it? Right? In order to become a doctor, you need to score very high marks in your plus 2. After that, you need to appear in NEET exam. You need to get really high grades. And even after you join the medical college, you need to undergo systematic training, right, for 5 years. You need to undergo a home surgeon's course. After that, you need to take up higher studies. After that, you need to interact with patients. We need to treat patients. Only then you become a good doctor. Isn't it? Just because you're born in a family of a doctor, that doesn't mean you become a doctor. Likewise, just because you're born in a family of in a Brahmin family, that doesn't mean you become a Brahmin. A person who is born in a Brahmin family, if the person demonstrates, if the person exhibits predominantly tamasic qualities, though the person is born in a Brahmin family, he or she cannot be considered a Brahmin. The same is true with the person who is born in a Shudra family. A person who is born in a Shudra family, suppose that need not mean the person is a Shudra. A person who is born in a Shudra family, suppose the person is highly intellectual, suppose the person is a man of mind control and sense control, though the person is born in a Shudra family, the person is clearly demonstrating Brahmin qualities. So birth doesn't determine who you are. Then I'm going to give example of Ravana, Kumbhakarna and Vibhishana. Right? These 3 of them, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana, all the 3 of them were born in the same family, same parents. They were born in same class. But all the 3 of them, they behaved differently. Ravana was predominantly Rajasic. Right? So, he had a tremendous amount of desires. How much ever he succeeded, he just wanted to accumulate more and more and more. Isn't it? That's why he conquered every country. He was full of lust. He was full of lust. He was full of desires. And Ravana was predominantly Rajasic. How about Kumbhakarna? Kumbhakarna was predominantly Tamasic. Kumbhakarna was a righteous person. Kumbhakarna was learned. Kumbhakarna had so much of goodness in him, but all his goodness, all his wisdom, all his righteousness got covered by his tamas. He slept for 6 months, isn't it? Now how about Vibhishana? Vibhishana, he was predominantly sattvic. So he didn't allow his goodness, he didn't allow his righteousness to get covered. He was bold enough to point fingers at Ravana when he told Ravana, you are wrong. And he was ready to renounce his wealth, he was ready to renounce his brother, and he was ready to approach Lord Rama and bow down in front of Rama. So he was predominantly sattvic. So these three, though they were born in the same family, though they were born to same parents, they demonstrated three different qualities in them. This clearly proves that your family or your lineage doesn't determine who you are, said Amma. I'm sure all of us are familiar with the Purusha Sukta, the popular verse from Purusha Sukta. Purusha Suktam says, Brahmano syamukamasid bahurajanyakritah uru tadasya yat vaishyah padbhyam shudro ajayata. So Purusha Sukta says his mouth, the mouth of Virat Purusha, the cosmic intelligence, the mouth of Almighty became a Brahmana. There's another interpretation. Brahmana originated from the mouth of Almighty. Bahura Janyakritaha. Almighty's arms became Kshatriya. Another interpretation, Kshatriya was born from the arms of Almighty. Uru Tadasya Yad Vaishyaha. From his thighs, Almighty's thighs became Vaishya, business class. Another interpretation, business class was born from Almighty's thighs. Padbhyam Shudro Ajayata, whereas Shudra was born from the feet, or his feet became Shudra. So all these four activities, whether it is intellectual activity or whether it is business activity, whether it is service activity, all these activities are equally sacred. All these activities are equally important for the harmony of society. Is it right to say head is more important than feet? No, that's ridiculous, isn't it? So if all four professions are equally important, on what basis do I choose my profession? Right? Most of us have got this confusion, isn't it? How do I choose my profession? So there are three possibilities. You can choose your profession based on your guna, based on your predominant quality. That's one option. Option number two, you can choose your profession based on your family lineage, jati. And third option, you can choose your profession based on money. Your profession is going to fetch you more money, you can choose it. Among these three options, option number 1 and 2 are really advisable. Say, suppose I choose my profession based on my predominant quality. I'll enjoy my profession. I love my profession. I'll give my best. I'll just be focused on improving my performance. I won't be focused on what I get from it. The very profession will bring me joy. I don't need weekends to relax. Only when you don't enjoy your profession, only when you don't love your profession, you depend on weekends for relaxation. And the opposite, when you enjoy your profession, right? You're fully relaxed. You don't need weekends to relax. So choosing a profession based on one's guna, one's predominant nature, that's most advisable. But unfortunately, most of us don't know what's a predominant guna, isn't it? If you don't know what's your predominant guna, then they give the next option. No problem. Choose your profession according to your family, jati. If you're son of a carpenter, it's always safe for you to choose carpentry because your father will support you, isn't it? If you're a son of a tradesman, it's better you go for the same trade because your family will support you. That is the second best option. Choosing the profession based on family lineage. But unfortunately, today's society, people choose a profession that will get them more money. Right? 20 or 30 years ago, every parent wanted their son to become a doctor or engineer in India, isn't it? So everybody wanted the son to become an engineer. So what happened? Number of engineering colleges, it really shoot up, and number of students joining in the engineering courses really increased, whereas job availability was just the same, right? So at they've reached a state where they're closing engineering colleges because there's no more takers. Job opportunities has become much less. This is what happens when you choose a profession based on just money, right? A son might be very much interested in arts and science, but parent forces the son to take up engineering. What will happen? He'll be struggling throughout, isn't it? So choosing a profession based on just money is not advisable. Choosing a profession based on one's inclination, one's predominant guna, or based on one's family lineage is most advisable. So these four classes, right? The four classes were made not to create divisions in society. The proper knowledge of these four classes will help us become more aware of our own thoughts, of our own emotions. Actually, knowledge of these four classes will help us go beyond the divisions that exist in our mind. It will uplift us from the level of Beda Buddhi. So this knowledge really helps us. So as I said earlier, gunas. It is the gunas that it is a predominant guna that determines who we are, and we need to understand that these gunas, they don't stay by themselves. They don't exist by themselves. The Prakriti, the entire nature, is nothing but combination of gunas, isn't it? So the gunas keep changing. Just as gunas keep changing externally, it keeps changing internally as well. The three gunas are like three seasons. As many of us might know, Sattva Guna expresses as knowledge, peace, happiness, faith, quietude, etc. Rajoguna, it can either be positive or negative, right? One can be selflessly dynamic, or one can be selfishly dynamic. Both comes under Rajoguna. So being dynamic is an expression of Rajoguna. It's Rajoguna that expresses as a competitive spirit. It's Rajoguna that expresses as jealousy, anger, greed, hatred, etc., etc. So it can be positive or negative. Tamoguna usually expresses as laziness, sleep, sorrow, etc. So wherever you, as I said earlier, wherever you go, you'll come across people who are sattvic in nature. You'll come across people who are rajasic in nature. You'll come across people who are tamasic in nature. Right. So Lord Krishna divides entire humanity into four. I call it SRT. SRT refers to predominantly sattvic. Sattva guna will be predominant, and less of Rajoguna and less of Tamoguna. SRT is the first combination. Such people, they'll be more inclined to philosophy. They'll be more inclined to contemplation. Contemplative mind is indication of SRT, first classification. Second classification, RST. Rajoguna will be predominant, and Rajoguna gets supported by Sattvaguna and little of Tamoguna. If that is the case, the person will be selflessly active. RST, second classification. Third classification, RTS. Rajoguna will be predominant, supported by Tamoguna and less of Sattvaguna. If that is the case, the person will be selfishly active. Got it? Then last but not the least, TRS. Predominance of Tamoguna. Tamoguna gets supported by Rajoguna and less of Sattvaguna. If that is the case, the person, it's better the person prefers unskilled profession. Unskilled job is much preferable for the person. The person need not think. The person is not intellectually oriented. There is no need for the person to think. The person can just obey the orders and just get involved in unskilled labor. So these are the four combinations that Lord Krishna gives, and based on these four combinations, he gave four classifications. Right? So the divisions that Lord Krishna gave in Bhagavad Gita is based on guna and karma, not based on birth. Right? Let us get it very, very clear. Srimad Bhagavad Gita doesn't support jati-based division. Right? Division is based on guna and karma. So that is the most effective division. Division based on guna and karma is the most scientific, it's the most effective way of classification. Also we need to understand that a single person might be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya from a different angle. Got it? Let me explain. a Janma Brahmana, a person who is born in a Brahmin family, might be professionally in a different field. If a Janma Brahmana, if a person born in a Brahmin clan, if he or she does business, the fellow is Janma Brahmana but Karma Vaishya. Got it. I remember an incident during Amma's darshan. A devotee, I know the devotee, right? From Gulf. A devotee from Gulf, born in a Brahmin family. He comes for darshan. I was near Amma, and Amma embraced him. After receiving Amma's embrace, he told Amma, "Amma, please give me a lot of wealth. Please give me a lot of wealth, Amma. Please bless me with more and more and more wealth." That was his prayer. Amma embraced him. But hearing this, I felt a little bad. Come on, you're a long-term devotee. You've been coming to Amma for the past so many years, and you are rich already. You're working in Gulf, you're rich, and still you come to Amma and you ask for more wealth. You come to a Sadguru and ask for more wealth. That is like approaching a king and asking for a pumpkin. Right? So I felt a bit bad. I was judging the person. Instantly, Amma looked at me and said, "Stop judging. Do you know why he's asking for more wealth? He's asking for more wealth so that he can support charity. That is his intention. If only he has got more wealth, can he do more charity? That is his intention," said Amma. So this person, though he was Janma Brahmana, though he was Karma Vaishya, he was Guna Kshatriya. Got it? Because he has that selfless attitude in him. So he is Guna Kshatriya. How about Drona? Drona was Janma Brahmana. By birth he was a Brahmin, but Karma Kshatriya. Right? By profession he was a Kshatriya. So there is no question of superiority or inferiority. Neither by birth nor by actions can a person claim I am superior. Everybody has got his or her own role to play in the society. Every role is equally glorious. Let me give some examples from Upanishads. In Chandogya Upanishad, we come across the story. Shvetaketu was son of Rishi Gautama, right? Brahmin. Gautama, he teaches Shvetaketu. At one point, Gautama sends his son to king. The king's name was Pravahana, philosopher king. So Father Gautama sends his son Shvetaketu to King Pravahana. So as Shvetaketu enters King Pravahana's court, King welcomes Shvetaketu with all respect because he's a Brahmin boy. He belongs to he's born to Gautama Rishi. So with all respect, the king welcomes him by offering him gifts, etc. Then after that, the interaction begins. The king asks his son, asks Shvetaketu, what all have you learned from your father? What all do you know? Then after that, king puts him 5 questions. Well, I'm not going to go into details of those 5 questions. King puts him 5 questions, and Shvetaketu is dumbstruck. He doesn't have any answer for these 5 questions. So after this, Shvetaketu goes back home. Then he tells his father, these are the 5 questions that king put me. I don't know the answers. It seems you didn't teach me fully. And Rishi Gautama, he realizes that even he doesn't know the answers for these 5 questions. So Gautama, he goes to Pravahana's court. So Pravahana welcomes Gautama with due respect. And but Gautama, he declines all the gifts that the king is offering. And Gautama says to the king, I have come here to learn from you. So Brahmana, Gautama, is willing to learn from Kshatriya, Pravahana. And king makes it very clear, if you need to learn from me, you need to stay here for some time. You need to do some seva. Right? And Gautama agrees for that. And Gautama, he stays in Pravahana's court, he does seva, and he receives wisdom. And that's how the king Pravahana, the Kshatriya Pravahana, gives Panchagni Vidya to Gautama. This story comes in Chandogya. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Kshatriya Ashwapati gives knowledge to Pratina Shala. Ashwapati gives knowledge to Pratina Shala. Ashwapati was Kshatriya, Pratina Shala was Brahmana. Ajatashatru, he was a Kshatriya. Ajatashatru gives knowledge to Gargiya, a Brahmana. Ajatashatru says, this knowledge that I'm giving you has come down from generations of kings. And I'm giving this to you. So it's very, very clear that it's very clear that his ancestors were all highly learned. They were all highly knowledgeable. Also in Chandogya, you come across the story of Jabala Satyakama. Right? Mother decides to send her son to Guru for knowledge. So Guru asks him, hey, what's the name of your father? Or how about the lineage? The son doesn't know. He goes back home. He asks his mother about his father, about the lineage. The mother says, son, when I was young, I had served many men. To be frank, I really don't know who your father is. I don't know to whom you are born. And the son, he goes back to Guru and he just repeats what his mom said. This is what my mom said. I don't know who my father is. And Guru immediately accepts him as a disciple. It gives a message. Because he spoke truth to the Guru, isn't it? So it gives a very powerful message. Whoever your dad is, even if your mom is immoral, even if your mom is immoral, whoever be your dad, whatever lineage you belong to, that doesn't matter. If you speak truth, you are a Brahmin. This is the message the story gives us. There is another very popular story in Vedas, a story of a Rishi. His name was Kavashan. Right? This Kavashan, he was a mantra drashta in Rigveda. This Kavashan was actually born, he was Dasiputra, right? He was born to a domestic help. This Kavashan, he goes to a place where rishis such as Vishwamitra, Vashishta, Bharadwaja, right? All these great rishis, they were performing a huge fire ritual in the banks of Saraswati river. So this Kavashan, he goes there, but the donor of the ritual, he gets upset. He gets upset because Kavashan is a Dasiputra. He gets upset with Kavashan. He insults Kavashan. He abuses Kavashan, and he drives away Kavashan to desert. And there in the desert, Kavashan starts his penance. He starts chanting his mantra. You know what happens? Saraswati river, she changes her course. Saraswati river, she changes her course and she proceeds all the way to the place where Kavashan was doing penance. So all these rishis, they get so scared. Great rishis, Vishwamitra, Bharadwaja, Vashishta, all of them, they get so scared and they start following Saraswati, and there they see Kavashan doing penance. There they see all devas and devatas in physical form. And Saraswati river goes around Kavashan. So all these rishis, they bow down in front of Kavashan. And Kavashan, they bring Kavashan back to the original place of fire ritual, and Saraswati river, she changes the course of flow. So all these, there's another very popular story in Chandogya, right? They call it Janashruti Upakyana. The king Janashruti, one day he was loitering on his balcony. And the king sees birds, swans. He sees a couple of swans flying, and he knew the language of birds. He knew birds' language. He could hear one swan telling the other, "Hey, there the king Janashruti is loitering. Don't fly over them. Don't fly over him. His spiritual spiritual light is so powerful. If we fly over him, we will get burnt." The other bird said, "That is ridiculous. Whatever you said doesn't apply to Janashruti. It applies to Raikwa. It applies to Raikwa, the cart puller." And the king heard these words, and the king understood that Raikwa's spiritual splendor is really powerful than his. So the king sends his minister to bring Raikwa, the cart puller. And the king goes around searching for Raikwa, and he sees he finds him out, and he had skin disease, and he had disgusting appearance, and he was not willing to come with the minister. The minister goes back to the king and he says, "This Raikwa has got skin disease and he doesn't want to come with me." The king approaches. The king goes to Raikwa with all gifts. He takes 600 cows with him, and he takes chariot. He takes gold to Raikwa, and Raikwa refuses. And Raikwa calls him a Shudra. He calls the king a Shudra and he refuses. Then again king goes back with more presents. The king goes back with 100 horses, chariot. He offers his daughter to Raikwa. And the king learns, the king gets wisdom from Raikwa, the cart puller. So it's all these examples that I mentioned from Upanishads very clearly says, whoever you are, right? Whoever you are, to whichever family you are born to, if you are predominantly sattvic, you are a Brahmana. Right? And that's a very popular mantra from Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana says, Janmana jayate shudra, samskarat bhaved duja. I mean, by birth, everyone is a shudra. Right? Only by samskara, only by undergoing sacred thread ceremony. The word sacred thread ceremony has got a different meaning here. Only by practicing moral values, only by practicing values such as mind control, sense control, compassion, etc., you become a real Brahmana. Right? So, it is spiritual practices that convert Shudra Guna in us to Vaishya Guna. Right? And from Vaishya Guna, we need to uplift ourselves to the level of Kshatriya. How to do that? A businessman, say for example, a businessman, he accumulates money, he accumulates wealth for his family and for himself. Such a businessman, once he starts sharing, once he develops his habit of sharing with others, once he develops his habit of helping others, though he is a Vaishya, slowly he gets uplifted to the level of a Kshatriya. Right? This transformation is possible for each and every one of us to uplift us from where we are. It's possible for each and every one of us, and slowly we need to get uplifted to the level of a Brahmana. Right? Getting uplifted to the level of Brahmana means practicing noble values like compassion, patience, forgiveness, mind control, sense control, dispassion, etc. So whatever profession we are doing, whatever profession we are engaged with, we can turn it into Karma Yoga. Right? If I'm a laborer, I can convert my labor into Karma Yoga. If I'm a businessman, I can convert my business into Karma Yoga. Converting any profession into Karma Yoga slowly brings transformation in our character. Right? Not just human beings, even animals, birds, even they have these three gunas. Right? Say for example, they call it Visha Vaidya in Kerala, right? Medical treatment using snake poison, right? Even snakes, Ayurveda says we have Brahmana snake and Shudra snake, and so on. Even trees, we have a Vriksha Ayurveda. They says we have Brahmana trees and Tamasic Shudra trees, etc. Even clay, even in clay, we have Sattvic mud and we have Rajasic mud, etc. Even rocks, we have this classification. So these classifications, it's universal. But this classification is specially mentioned for human beings because only human being can attain self-realization. Only human being can become more aware of himself or herself. Only human being can uplift himself or herself or attain self-realization. So these four classifications is more suitable, is more relevant only for human beings. So each and every one of us need to really know, what am I qualified for? At this point of life, am I qualified for Karma Yoga or am I fit for contemplation, self-inquiry? If you have mind control, if you have mind control, if you have sense control, you are qualified for self-inquiry. There's no doubt about it. On the contrary, if you're more Rajasic, if you're more Rajasic and bit Sattvic, you're qualified for Karma Yoga. Right? Suppose you are predominantly Tamasic, you're not even fit for Karma Yoga. You need to work upon it. You need to work on you need to transform your Tamoguna into Rajoguna. So this is a very systematic, very systematic style of approaching life, very systematic life, way of uplifting ourselves. And the most interesting thing is these four, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, exist within each and every one of us. Right? At one point of the day, we might be a Brahmana. Early morning, say we wake up early in the morning, we do our archana, we do our japa, we do our meditation, and the mind is predominantly sattvic. Right? So the Brahmana in us has got awakened. And later, we become dynamic. We become super dynamic. So the Kshatriya in us has got awakened. After some time, we become so selfish, we just want to accumulate. So the Vaishya in us has become more predominant. After some time, we become lazy. After some time, we allow all our knowledge to get covered. Now the Shudra within us has awakened. So each and every one of us become a Brahmana at one point, Kshatriya at another point, Vaishya at another point, and Shudras at another point of life in the same day. If your goal is self-realization, if your goal is eternal bliss, if your goal is going beyond the cycle of birth and death, you need to keep the Brahmana within you awake for the most of the day. Hope it's clear. Let me repeat. If your goal is self-realization, if your goal is ultimate bliss, if your goal is going beyond the cycle of transmigration, you need to keep Brahmana within you awake for the most part of the day. Right? As all of us know, like Veda Vyasji, like Veda Vyasji, our Amma was also born in Shudra family. But Amma is real Brahmana, right? I mean, even to say that is not proper. Saints and sages, they are called as Varnashramis. They are beyond all the classification. But just for the sake of discussion, for sake of understanding, we can say that only self-realized masters, only incarnations like Amma, they are real Brahmanas. They are the embodiment of all noble values. They are embodiment of selflessness. They are embodiment of all noble virtues that scriptures glorify. Let me recount an experience, an incident that happened many years ago. I know a person who didn't want to accept Amma as a guru. Right? The person thought that a guru should belong to a Brahmin community. A guru should belong to a Brahmin community. Amma is born in a fisherman family, so Amma cannot be a guru. That was his stupid understanding. And moreover, his only son, joined Amma's ashram as a brahmachari. So he hated Amma. First of all, he could not accept Amma as a guru. Second, he is hating Amma. So he decided to come to Amritapuri and go for darshan and fight with Amma. Right? So with the intention of fighting with Amma, he comes to Amritapuri. And he tells his son, well, I won't call her as Amma. Why should I call her as Amma? She is not my mother. And moreover, I am elder to her. I am much elderly to her. She is not my mother. I won't call her as Amma. So with that preconceived notion, he goes for darshan. With the intention of fighting with Amma, he goes for darshan. And no sooner Amma embraces him, Amma didn't give any chance for him to fight with her. Amma asked him, son, how are you? How is your health? When Amma asked him, how is your health? Then he said, Amma, I am a diabetic. Amma, for the past 10 years, I am a diabetic. Then Amma starts advising him on diet restrictions. What, son, these are the food that you need to avoid. These are the food that you need to do, you need to consume. And my son, you need to walk daily. My son, you need to walk at least 40 or 45 minutes of brisk walk is most needed. As you do this daily, my son, you can bring down the dosage of insulin that you're taking. Amma started advising him on dietary restrictions. As Amma started advising him, unknowingly he started addressing Amma as Amma. Okay, Amma, yes, Amma, I'll do Amma. Yes, Amma. He started addressing Amma as Amma. Then mother made him sit next to her for 10 or 15 minutes, and after that he came out. Only after he came out, he remembered that he forgot to fight with Amma. Only later he remembered that he forgot to fight with Amma. Only later he remembered that he addressed Amma as Amma. See, this is what happens in the presence of incarnation like Amma. Right? You go beyond mind, you go beyond intellect, you go beyond all your preconceived notions in the presence of Amma, simply because she is established in that ultimate state which is beyond all restrictions, which is beyond all limitations, which is beyond all classifications, which is beyond the reach of body, mind and intellect. That is Amma's glorious state, right? So by developing devotion towards Amma, right, by becoming Amma's instruments, by practicing the values that Amma embody, by practicing Amma's wisdom, by practicing Amma's teachings, each and every one of us get uplifted. We get uplifted from where we are. If you're leading a selfish, materialistic life, by getting associated with Amma, slowly you get uplifted to the level of leading selfless, materialistic life. Earlier, you are merely taking from society. By associating with Amma, slowly, slowly you become a contributor. Right? From the level of, leading a selfish materialistic life, slowly, slowly you get uplifted. Slowly you become a contributor. From that level, slowly, slowly your intensity for spiritual practices, your love for spiritual practices gets intensified. Spiritual practices become part and parcel of your life. As spiritual practices become part and parcel of your life, you become more sattvic, you become more peaceful, you become more contented. So spiritual progress gets expressed as peace, as love, as contentment, as selflessness. These are Brahmin qualities, isn't it? So let each and every one of us uplift ourselves from where we are. Let us allow the Brahmin within us to get awakened. Let us allow all these noble values. Let us practice these noble values and let us become Amma's instruments and let us become Amma's messengers. Let us become Amma's darling children. And here in this birth, let us attain our oneness with Amma. Right? And I know that I've just addressed one part. I didn't take up the topic of ashrama. I just discuss the topic of Varna. I know that it's because of shortage of time. I just addressed one topic. Varna I addressed, and hope whatever we discussed is clear. Right? So these four classifications are universal. These four classifications exist within each and every one of us. And by putting efforts, by putting conscious efforts, by doing spiritual practices, by practicing noble values, by becoming more selfless, we get uplifted to the level of Brahmin. And that is doorway to, that opens door for self-realization. Hope that happens to each and every one of us here in this birth by Amma's grace. Thank you so much for giving this wonderful opportunity to be with you, to interact with you. I really hope that this discussion helped you. Praying for Amma's infinite grace, offering my words at Amma's lotus feet. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.